You're listening to the Fitzy and Whipper podcast.
It has become one of the nation's most gripping murder mysteries, and today we find out the fate of Chris Dawson at 10 a.m. No jury, and this is off the popularity of the Teacher's Pet podcast. No jury. It comes solely down to one judge.
Wow.
It is unbelievable. One man who's been covering this the whole time, Channel 7 news reporter Chris Reason. Rezo, I can only imagine today what Lynette Dawson's family is going through and the sleepless night they would have had last night, Rezo.
Oh, guys, good morning to you. They've been waiting for this moment for so long now, 4 decades, waiting for a decision, a verdict this morning. As we've just seen, I can tell you some breaking news. Chris Dawson has just walked in with his lawyer, Greg Walsh, a big media pack as they went into the Supreme Court here down in the centre of the city. Of course, it's the other side as well. Dawson waiting to hear that verdict and see what his fate will be. Will he be acquitted? Or will he be convicted?
Reza, it's one of those things. We've heard the podcast, we've seen the special. Is there enough evidence to convince him whether he's guilty or not? What has been, or if any, is the new evidence that's been presented in court? Would you know?
Well, it's been an extensive trial, guys. I mean, 10 weeks of evidence and legal argument over this, and then 7 weeks of deliberation for the judge. And they've gone through absolutely everything that was left. But you're right. I mean, there wasn't much new evidence at the end of the day. In fact, there was less evidence, obviously, than there was years ago, and that was one of the big problems with this case. We've got missing evidence, case files that have been thrown away by the police after scrapped investigations, and then, of course, deteriorating memories of the witnesses, everybody conflicting what they thought they saw, heard, and interpreted from all those years ago. It was a really difficult case for the prosecutors and the defence to have to navigate their way through this one. So that's what's going to be so interesting. I mean, you've got to remember, all of it is circumstantial. There is no body. There is no weapon. There are so few legitimate clues and convictionable pieces of evidence that can point towards an easy solution for the prosecutors here. It's not that it's never been done. We've seen it with Azaria Chamberlain. We've seen it with Kelly Lane. You know, you don't have to have a body to get a conviction, but it's so much harder for the prosecution to get it. So that is one of the big question marks over today.
Well, it'd be a huge call, wouldn't it?
Big one, though, Reason, is that, you know what, 2 daughters, and Lynette Dawson loved those 2 daughters. She's missing. She's gone. No one's heard from Lynette Dawson, so she's not with us anymore. Are the 2 daughters, do you know if they're going to attend today?
They probably won't. We saw Chanel on Sunday visiting her dad up in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. We got some pictures of that moment. Don't forget, she could possibly have been visiting knowing it's the last time she will see him as a free man. That if he goes in today and doesn't come out, that is it. I mean, he is old, 74, he's frail. Who knows what the sentence will be? There is a chance that it could be his last days alive. They could be spent inside prison. So she was saying farewell to him. We don't think the other one is going to turn up here, no. The 2 of them have tried to stay pretty low-key.
Rezo, we're in a situation like this, because of the influence of the public, you don't have a jury, does it come down to one man? I mean, obviously they speak with the merry men, but is the magistrate the only one that will be making that call?
Yep, absolutely. The Supreme Court Justice Ian Harrison has made this deliberately a one-judge trial because the podcast was so spectacularly successful. It's been downloaded some 63 million times, and so many people, as a result of that podcast, have got what you would call a prejudiced view. And it would have been so hard to find an unprejudiced jury. The judge said, nope, I'll hear this alone without the emotion. I'll hear it legally. Judges, of course, expert, decades in hearing things impartially and making their own call. So that's why it all comes down to what Justice Harrison will deliver today. We'll find out shortly. I mean, his judgment will be potentially hundreds of pages long. I'm hoping that he gives the verdict at the beginning of the reading of the judgment, not the end. We could be here for hours. But we will find out today what the fate of this case is.
Is there a time on it, Rezo, when it's meant to be handed down?
10 o'clock. So it will all be meeting then here at the Supreme Court. All of the players will be inside. The family of Lynette Dawson all wearing pink today in support of. We saw a tweet from one of them on the weekend saying that they were hoping for answers finally to come their way. As you said right at the beginning, guys, this has been a long, long wait for them, and they're hoping for what they call justice. But as Dawson says, he's hoping for the truth as well. So whose side will the judge come down on? My bet is it'll be on Dawson's. I just can't see how the judge is going to call it in favour of against Chris Dawson, but we will soon find out.
Extraordinary case.
We know
Thanks,
how busy you are, Rezo. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
No problem at all. Anytime.
You're listening to the Fitzy and Whipper podcast.